At 6 a.m. on a Tuesday, I was halfway up a ladder cleaning my own solar panels when two police cars came screaming into my driveway, lights flashing like they were raiding a drug den. And there she was, Brenda Kessler, the HOA president, standing next to her white BMW with that cold, triumphant smile, the kind a person wears when they think they've finally destroyed you. What she didn't know was that she'd just tried to arrest the one man in this state who could legally dismantle her entire corrupt little kingdom. I should probably start from the beginning. My name is Marcus Thornfield, and after 23 years as a circuit court judge, mostly dealing with civil rights property disputes and the darker corners of human pettiness, I retired early. Not because I wanted to, but because life threw my family a punch. My wife Sarah spent 2 years battling breast cancer. Chemo complications. Nights so long the clock seemed to stall. We got through it, though. Sarah fought like a lion. When she finally beat it, I decided she deserved a peaceful place to heal. So we moved to Willowbrook Estates, one of those neighborhoods with picture-perfect lawns and cookie-cutter mailboxes where the biggest problem should have been whose dog got into whose flower bed. We built an accessibility ramp, solid oak, fully permitted, so Sarah could navigate the porch with her wheelchair during recovery. And we installed 36 solar panels, professionally done, city-approved, everything by the book. And that's exactly when I met her. Brenda Kessler. If you took a tape measure, a superiority complex, and a real estate license and blended them in a blender, Brenda would walk out. She'd been HOA president for 6 years and acted like the neighborhood was her personal dictatorship. Clipboard always in hand, like it was a royal scepter hovering around mailbox posts and trash bins as if she were running a boot camp. The very same day the panels were installed, I came home to a bright yellow violation taped to my door. Aesthetic violation of architectural standards. The next day, another one, unpermitted structural modification. She fined my ramp. My wife's medical accessibility ramp. I went over to talk to her, thinking there must be some misunderstanding. She was in a neighbor's yard, crouched beside the mailbox like a sniper measuring its height. "Brenda, everything I built is permitted and approved," I said. "City permits. ADA compliant." She didn't even look up. "This community has standards, Mr. Thornfield. We can't have people installing whatever they want." Whatever they want? Like a wheelchair ramp for a cancer survivor. That should have been my first clue that logic was not part of Brenda's personality. A few days later, she called an emergency board meeting and projected photos of my solar panels like crime scene evidence. She called them visual pollution. Then she pulled up a dramatic photo of the ramp taken from just the right angle to make it look like I'd built a pirate ship instead of a safety structure and declared it a hazard. Someone in the crowd asked, "Isn't that for his wife's wheelchair?" Patricia, Brenda's loudest follower, shot back, "We can't make exceptions based on personal circumstances." I felt something dark settle in my chest. I'd seen this kind of mindset before from petty tyrants, bullies, and people who thought rules were weapons. So I asked Brenda a simple question. "Can I see the minutes from the architectural committee meeting where you reviewed my application?" She froze. Turns out there hadn't been a meeting, not in 2 years. She'd been making decisions completely solo, targeting whoever she didn't like. That meeting changed everything. I walked out knowing exactly what Brenda was and exactly how to beat her. But Brenda wasn't the kind of person who took embarrassment well. Within the week, I got a thick cease and desist letter from an overpriced law firm. Then flyers appeared in mailboxes warning residents about individuals undermining community standards. No names, but everyone knew who she meant. She even created a Facebook group about protecting neighborhood culture, which is HOA speak for discrimination, dressed up in polite wording. Still, the thing that almost broke me wasn't the smear campaign. It was watching the stress hit Sarah. Late one night, I found her on the porch staring at Brenda's house, her hands trembling slightly from anxiety. She said quietly, Maybe we should just remove the ramp. I don't want to be the reason you're being attacked." Hearing that felt like someone shoved a knife into my ribs. For the first time, I wondered if maybe I really was making things worse. Maybe I should back down. Maybe complying was easier than fighting. But the next morning, Sarah looked me dead in the eye and said, "You know what? No. I beat cancer. I'm not losing to a woman with a clipboard. And just like that, my spine rehardened. Then came the grocery store incident. I bumped my cart into Brenda's by accident while reaching for spinach. I apologized because that's what normal humans do. But Brenda pounced on it like she'd been waiting for a stage. She lectured me loudly about ongoing violations, waving a kale bunch like a gavel. 3 days later, the sheriff called. There's a complaint saying you cornered someone and made threatening statements. I actually laughed. The deputies pulled the Kroger security footage and cleared me immediately. But now it was obvious Brenda wanted me gone. And she wasn't alone. Her boyfriend Tyler owned the landscaping company that the HOA had mysteriously tripled its budget for. The pool maintenance was months behind. HOA reports hadn't been filed with the state. And Mrs. Chen Quietkind, retired paralegal, had been documenting everything for years. One night, while reviewing the HOA's financials, everything clicked into place. Embezzlement schemes, discriminatory enforcement, misuse of funds. Brenda wasn't just petty, she was corrupt. But the real turning point came at 2:47 a.m. Rex, my German Shepherd, went berserk barking. The next morning, my solar panels weren't generating power. I climbed up and found bolts deliberately loosened, and when I checked my security camera later that day, I saw a figure in dark clothing near my roof. Then I saw Brenda's white BMW driving away. That was it. She brought this fight to my family's safety. She crossed the line. I filed official complaints with the state, with the Attorney General, with the IRS. I contacted old colleagues, prosecutors, inspectors, legal experts. My daughter Emma dug up Brenda's discriminatory posts, BBB complaints, shady real estate deals. Mrs. Chen uncovered invoices missing signatures, payments to non-existent vendors, and approval patterns that would make an auditor pass out. By the time Brenda called for another emergency meeting, this one to ban solar panels retroactively, we were ready. But Brenda wasn't. She expected a dozen people. Instead, 127 residents poured into the room. Local news showed up. The mayor showed up. And standing quietly in the back was County Prosecutor Janet Martinez, my former law school study partner. Brenda looked like she hadn't slept in days, but she still marched to the front to give her speech about dangerous residents undermining community harmony. When she finished, the mayor nodded to me. I walked up holding a folder thick enough to choke a horse. I showed the invoices funneling $47,000 to Tyler's landscaping emergencies. I showed screenshots of Brenda calling immigrant families culturally inappropriate. I played the audio of Bob trying to bribe Mrs. Chen. I presented the sabotage camera footage. Every piece was a nail in the coffin. But the moment everything truly collapsed was when I said softly, and because it keeps coming up, let me clarify something important. The whole room leaned in. I didn't hire a lawyer. I don't need to. I'm Marcus Thornfield, former circuit court judge for 23 years, and I know HOA law better than anyone in this room. It was like dropping a bomb. Brenda's face drained of color. Her bargain bin attorney started packing his briefcase. People in the back gasped. The news cameras zoomed closer. Then Janet stepped forward. I can confirm multiple criminal investigations are now open regarding embezzlement, fraud, and civil rights violations. Brenda tried to speak, but her voice was just a strangled wheeze. The crowd erupted, some in shock, some in anger, some finally feeling safe to confront her. The mayor called for a vote of no confidence. Residents raised their hands like a tidal wave. The final count, 119-8. Brenda Kessler, the tyrant of Willowbrook Estates, was officially removed from power. She stood there trembling, defeated, surrounded by cameras, abandoned by her own attorney, exposed in front of the very people she once ruled over. And that's where my story ends. Right at the moment, her power evaporated the moment she realized the person she'd tried to bully into silence was the one person she should never have crossed. Because giving petty tyrants power is easy. Taking it back just takes someone willing to say, enough.